I think I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to jump ahead on the agenda a little bit to my little part right here. Um, I don't know if y'all have heard of Google Notebook LM, or just in the last couple of weeks, it's now being called Gemini Notebook. And if you Google Notebook, you'll see it called notebooklm.google.com. But then when you go to the website, it'll say Gemini Notebook. One of the things it can do is help you take a simple presentation and make it more dynamic. So for instance, for a meeting of our coordinated state evaluation, we were presenting on some of our evaluation work that we're planning, where we're going to be looking at workforce supports and what is associated with indicators of professional well-being. And this whole presentation, you can see it's just a whole bunch of text. Well, I put it into Google Notebook, and let me show you what I got out of it. And this was with no tweaking on my part. I just let it do its thing. It came up with graphics and a lot shorter of a presentation, processes being described, direction of effects, different kinds of workforce support, and the text that I had in those slides, and so forth. You can see this is a lot more dynamic than the plain text that I had created. So that's Gemini Notebook, also called Google Notebook previously. So I just wanted to mention that. If you can, also a typo on the first slide, which
if you bring it up again, the title on the very first slide.
On this one?
Yeah, scroll up. Workforce supports and
job
satisfaction.
Job satisfaction. Never noticed it. But of course, that's just introductory. Thank you, Andrew. So Google Notebook clearly isn't or Gemini Notebook clearly isn't infallible. But if you Google Gemini Notebook or Google Notebook, you'll see there are some videos that will walk you through how to use Google Notebook. And at least right now, it's free. And it just took a few minutes. I just uploaded my plain text presentation and got back this more dynamic presentation. So anyway, let's see. I'm looking at who is here. There's David. David, you're going to be talking to us about our work at the National Research Conference on Early Childhood Education. Oklahoma led a poster symposium, and David did that. And he's also going to talk to us about the fourth action phase and the PDSA that we might do. And so we are in our third action phase right now. And so we're talking about the next one. And I'm just going to stop sharing and turn it over to David.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. I may have advertised this before, and it's the second or third time I think we've presented some home visiting data from Oklahoma at this conference. But every 2 years, the Administration of Children and Families, which, if you're familiar with that group, is very closely connected to the MIECHV world and partners quite a bit with the Health Resources and Services Administration on a variety of topics in the early childhood space. Anyway, this is their biannual meeting. And
David, excuse me, I'm told that Tabitha made some slides for you. But you said you made slides too, right?
I do have some slides for the second topic. I was just going to briefly touch on the poster symposium, and then I think Tabitha is going to go into detail on that when I hand the baton to her. Yeah, so in fact, ignore what I have on the screen right now for a moment. In our CEC, so National Research Conference on Early Childhood, I think Lisa mentioned education, and that's apropos because historically that conference is largely focused on early childhood education and childcare. And still probably half of the content is devoted to that subject matter. But 2 years ago, I went and I was pleased that we had about a quarter of the content devoted to home visiting. This year, I'd say it's closer to a third. There's quite a bit of work in the child welfare space at this conference as well. So for our team, it's a great fit. As you may know, we're involved in sort of all three of those topics. But I was there to promote home visiting, and Tabitha and Amy and others on the team helped contribute, and we presented preliminary evidence from the Photo Voice project that you all helped us complete right before I left. So it was sort of mission impossible there to gather your data, your photos, and then summarize that key content. But I thought the team did a really good job, and the conference presentation was very well received. I'd never done that format before. It was a poster symposium, so a hybrid of an oral symposium and a poster session. We did about 45 minutes of oral presentation, and then had the audience disperse and go around the room to view posters and do some Q&A. We were fortunate and were able to have our HRSA program officer for our MIECHV evaluation work with us, and she was our discussant. And so she provided some closing comments to the first oral part of the presentation, and then after the Q&A at individual posters, sort of summarized all of the work that was happening in this space. And I thought it was very well received. We got wonderful attendance. It was the last day of the conference in the morning, and the room is about 3/4 full, and it was a pretty large room. So I would guess there were probably 50 people in the room, and quite a bit of interest in the photo voice methodology, number one, but also the photos that were gathered and the feedback on how that visual information was impacting, or the things that were visualized in those photos were impacting workforce well-being. We were there with colleagues from Alabama, Kansas, and Johns Hopkins, who's working with the state of New Jersey. So it was New Jersey data, but Hopkins presented. And I thought it went really well. As I said, well attended, lots of engagement. In fact, in that closing segment that Laura offered, we opened the floor for discussion, and we had to kick people out of the room because the next session was about to start, and there was just too much interest and too many more questions. So I know that sounds like a little bit of self-promotion. I didn't mean it that way. It really is the work that you have helped us conduct, and it's certainly your data and your findings. So I just wanted to share that back with you, that there is broad interest in what's happening in workforce development and well-being, and a special focus now on what's happening in our state because of the CQI work that you're involved in, and the companion evaluation work that's happening. Is it okay to transition, Lisa, to the second topic? So on the screen, you should see a familiar slide. I think I presented this or a version of it to you twice now. I was calling it the foreshadow session before, and just a refresher, we were speaking of the fourth and final learning collaborative in this series, fourth and final learning session and learning phase in this series of learning collaboratives. I probably should take foreshadowing off because we're at that moment, and that was the main announcement this morning, is that we are ready to issue the survey that I have broadcast, that we broadcast at last learning session and in the last few monthly calls. There are a couple of revisions, and so I wanted to review those with you and explain why. And then I don't know if it's happening today or tomorrow, but you're going to get that survey very soon. Lisa may chime in here in just a minute and give you some more specifics, but we would really like to hear from programs. Now, I know that most programs within an agency sort of think alike at this stage, in part because you tend to adopt the same PDSAs, and that's totally fine, but just know that each program gets a vote here. We would really like for that vote to be presented back to your providers, and that sort of majority rules within the program is the vote that you then cast. And majority rules is what we're going to go with for this fourth and final PDSA. Again, it's a pivot from what we've done in the past, in part because everybody will be doing something that is a little bit more narrow than in the past. We would like you to focus on, as you'll see in a moment, one of two topics. I've presented 4 in the past. 2 of those are disappearing, and I'm going to tell you why now. But before I get to that, let me show you the 2 that will be on that survey. This one we think has staying power, in part because we've already had a couple of you adopt this as a change idea and show some early promising evidence. So we would love to see the collaborative on the whole tackle this topic and see where it leads us, and the creative ways that you learn on or that you demonstrate that principles from these types of trainings can be embedded in practice. So I've altered the name of it because I know in the past we've talked about some other workshop trainings and not just the CSER program. I did some homework on the FAN program, and as far as I'm concerned, it is available and an option to you. At the moment, those are the only 2 that we're offering. If a group wanted to provide justification for a third, we're open to that possibility. But for now, we're limiting it to CSER and to FAN. The title of this slide has changed because we're focusing on not just CSER, and so it's workforce development training to enhance reflective practice. I think reflective practice is what we like about this approach best, and we've been pleased with the PDSAs developed so far from those that went through the CSER program, that really that is how you embed it in practice. You came up with creative ways of incorporating this in your supervisory practices in particular, and especially the reflective supervision portions of that. So that's where we would like to see this go if it were the top selected option. On the screen are some repeat reasons why we thought that this was an important area. This last one should say CSER and FAN, but there is evidence, not just in home visiting, but in early childhood more broadly, that this type of training can have a positive impact on workforce well-being. So right up our alley, but still the plenty of issues to settle on how to sort of maximize the benefits of this. And as I said, we're intrigued by how you might be able to incorporate this in your supervisory practices. That's option 1. Option 2 also stays, and it is the storytelling idea. You know by now that we are sort of fascinated with this idea of capturing stories in unique ways and relaying those back to your workforce, and then studying what impact that might have on, broadly workforce morale and workforce well-being. So again, lots of room for innovation here. How are you going to capture these stories? Who are you going to recruit to provide those stories? And then how is that consumed by the workforce? There is some early evidence, very little in home visiting, I'm afraid, but it's also sort of exciting that you could be one of the first here, trailblazers in how storytelling has an impact on workforce well-being. I will make a note that we meet every month with our program officer from HRSA and with a technical assistance team about evaluation and about CQI. And in our call a month ago, we learned that the technical assistance group that we work with out of Massachusetts had been involved with a storytelling project in the past, not in home visiting, but in another early childhood sector. And we have a call set up in the coming weeks to learn more about what the best practices they learned along the way in their past work. And as soon as we have that content, we will share it back to you. We might even try to convince one of those individuals to join us for a future monthly call so you can hear it from the source. Anyway, those are the 2 candidates at the moment. So of course, I'm now dropping, as you can see on this next slide, mental health consultation. And it is not because we feel this is not impactful. In fact, this might become my new pet project. I really want to see programs move in this direction, not just those involved with MIECHV, but other home visiting programs across the nation. And I've been so impressed with the progress shown from colleagues in 2 states, including Alabama, who presented on this at that post symposium in our CEC. Alabama and Indiana stand out in my mind. Both have been doing this with our home visitors. Indiana's been doing this since the beginning of their MIECHV journey back in 2011 and 2012. And they've made tremendous strides in how they implement this. I had a call with the lead program person for Indiana's MIECHV 2 weeks ago and was just blown away with the lessons that they have learned over time, but also the evidence that they have to support the benefits of mental health consultation on workforce well-being. So impressed that I invited her to participate in our monthly call next month. So it's not on the survey, but again, it's not a topic that we are going to drop from visibility. We would like to be discussing this and then finding some ways and working with your programs and with the health department perhaps to find some other funding opportunities to make this a reality for you down the road. It is off the list right now in part because of funding. So in those conversations with Alabama and Indiana, there was a little bit of sticker shock. So this is a effective intervention, it appears, with early promising evidence from those two states in particular, but it is not cheap. And so it's not in the cards for us for the fourth and final CQI phase this year. But as I say, if we can find some additional funding in the future, we'd love to convince you to try to mirror what has happened in Indiana and Alabama, and again, explore some new ways that you embed this in your own practice. But there seems to be a lot of potential there. The last one on the list we're taking off, and we've always sort of tiptoed around this, even in the past presentations, because we know that artificial intelligence at the moment, although the promise is great, and we do have some early evidence that that this can be very effective on reducing, among other things, like documentation burden, which naturally then leads to enhanced well-being. We do realize there's a logistical and a legal barrier here. And so we're taking that one off the list in part because of some conversations we've had with other programs that would like to be engaged in this work, but just are not sure we could pull it off in time for November's learning session. The only other news and note on this topic to share is that I didn't hear any other ideas from the past 2 or 3 presentations of this foreshadowing of what is to come in learning session number 4. So for the moment, the survey has 2 options. And as I said, you'll get that later today. We would like to have 1 vote cast per program. And so Lisa and team will work with you to figure out who that individual is, and then we'll try to make sure we get a recorded response from you. I'm going to pause there because I'm not up on the latest on that. I know, Lisa, you've been working on that REDCap survey. Are we ready to deliver that today or this week?
I'm going to send it in an email later today and just clarify everything that you've said. And so that everybody knows, like, for instance, PCCT will want a vote from Safe Care and will want a vote from parents as teachers. And so we will be asking you, your agency and your program, just so that we can make sure we can know who hasn't voted yet and make sure people don't have questions. And I think that would be a good time for you to take questions right now, or maybe give some examples of projects that people could do under these topics.
We're asking for a relatively short turnaround time, in part because we've had months to think about this, of course, but also there is a unique funding opportunity available to all states, but we are definitely going to throw our hat in the ring. And we think that either one of these options would position us for a competitive application. So I'm asking for a response by the end of next Friday, in part so that we know how to draft the application for that additional funding. If we do get that funding, there will be additional resources available to us for that fourth and final PDSA, particularly on the measurement side, and more information on that when we know what option you choose. But that's the reasoning for the relatively short turnaround time on that survey. We'll release it later today and then ask for you to cast your final vote before next Friday, August the 7th. Any questions about that process or the two options on the table?
So what the staff is going to receive is only for the CSERT or the client storytelling, but not the mental health, right?
Yeah, for the moment,
Or
we're
is
just
it going to be
on
included
consultation
that?
off of it. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you can hear the disappointment in my voice, but I really want to do mental health consultation. Again, there was some sticker shock there. I didn't realize, I knew it was going to be expensive. I didn't realize how expensive it was in those two states in particular, the way that they're doing it. And although I think we could cobble something together that's cheaper, I'm not sure we can match their effectiveness if we do that. So it felt like a gamble to me.
Okay.
I did reach out to the health department, by the way. They agreed with that. And so everybody's on the same page here. That at least for this round, we're going to take it off the table, but look for some funding. And if we can find some additional funding, we'd love to bring that back.
I have a question. So we're gonna vote as a group. Like, it's not like every single home visitor is gonna vote, but we're just gonna vote together as like C1 OKC, correct?
Yeah, we went back and forth internally on that topic too, Daniela. It's a great question. We decided because some of your programs are much larger than others, that it made more sense to do this more like the Senate and not like the House of Representatives. So we'd like to hear from individual programs. We sort of think about your projects that way because there is one project per program.
Okay.
But we want provider input, frankly. I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to weigh in on this. And if you have a staffing between now and next Friday, or if you already have a sense of what your provider consensus is, I mean, that's really what we're hoping to capture.
Okay. And then do you have some examples for the client storytelling? Like what exactly do you guys want us to do with like that topic? Does that make sense?
I think we're more flexible on that area, in part because so little work has been done to date. So, both the CSERT training and the FAN training are already going to emphasize the importance of incorporating this in your supervisory practices. So we're a little bit more narrow on that one. But for storytelling, how you capture them and how you share them with one another, I think we're intrigued in interesting ways that you as a program come up with accomplishing that.
Okay. Thank you.
So programs that have two different, like as you mentioned, Safe Care, PAT, but it still is one vote per agency, right? Or it's going to
No,
be
one
two
vote per
different votes.
program. Sorry. So, LCDA as an example, one vote for your Safe Care program, one vote for your PAT program.
Well, I hope it's the same. I wanted to remember.
For your sake, I do too.
David, this is Yolanda. I don't know if you, what about, because I think we mentioned, you mentioned in the past about the cost of the training. So,
Yeah, great. I'm glad you brought that up. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned that from the outset. So, CSER, good news. We have found some funding. And so we will be able to train the entire group if you so choose. Both the provider training, the supervisor training, and the consultation. So, and thank you to the health department for agreeing to cover the cost of that. But that would be paid for. Huh? I can't believe I didn't mention that.
thank you.
I'm not so sure about FAN. It sounds like at least one program is already heading down the FAN road and may already have that funding sorted out. If we need additional funding for FAN, if that's the option you choose, then will you reach out to me and we can discuss that.
Dr. Barsi, as a program, we already the past CQI in this one is going around CSERT. I mean, I wonder how, I mean, is it a different approach that we can take if we just stay into that? because it's a lot to polish. I mean, you can take the training. I think that the staff is more familiarized with it. Of course, we see it as a strength-based, you know, framework. But I guess you can continue learning because if not, the only option we have is the client storytelling, and I'm totally. I, I mean, I don't know what I would want to do with that. I would need more ideas. I mean, I know that you said, well, whatever you guys want, but I just like maybe having someone telling the story about how they, participate in the program, things that they have done. I know that we presented, I think it was last year, uh, one of our families won the family of the year and they have a video. So is that like a video? We already have one video, but is it something that will have to just collect and have uh stories of families? Could be in later. I mean, and that's something we will just select, or still the option, because I know they're gonna ask me, so what else are we gonna continue doing? I mean, how do we continue? I mean, is there another thing that we can do with the CSERT? Well, we'll have to just jump into the client storytelling. That's why I was super interested in the mental health consultation, but that's off the table.
Okay, well, on the CSERT front, we did ask about refresher trainings. That is not an option at the moment, at least from our training team. But they, if I could be wrong, but I think they said that it's not, it wouldn't be the first time that somebody has taken the training more than once. And you're certainly welcome to do that. If you feel like, well, we've already gone through the training, not only have we done that, we've had 2 PDSAs in a row, sort of focused on incorporating that in practice. One option would be, well, can you adapt your current approach to try to gain even more benefit? So do a third PDSA on the CSERT topic without going back through the training. I think, Tabitha, you are I'm getting a second hand here, but correct me if I'm wrong. The supervisors could still go through their training, even if the providers did not, and potentially even take advantage of that consultation if that's helpful. So another year of phone consultation could be available
Yes,
to you
that's correct.
without having to have the whole staff go through the provider training again. So I think that's still a viable option for you. I suppose another twist on that is you could try the fan training if that's of interest and you want a
Yeah.
slightly different
Because I
perspective on
think
the topic.
and myself and the supervisors, we took not just the regular training, but then the supervisor one. The only thing we didn't do was the consultation. The way that the times they had them, it was 10, but I always had something going on there. So we never did. And of course, in my case, because I don't see directly, I don't supervise staff. So I was like, I don't know if those were specifically with situations that the supervisors were seeing. And I don't think my supervisor had, I mean, we had so much already on us that I don't think that I don't know. I can ask, but I'm pretty sure that they did not participate in the consultations afterwards, but not just the staff, also the supervisor, but no the consultation. So yeah, I mean, I would have to maybe read more and know more about client storytelling. But I guess whenever you send the survey, I don't want to say much. I don't want to influence that, but I know that they're going to have questions. And that's why I'm asking this question right now.
We do have some materials gathered together about how storytelling has been used in other fields. As I said, it's very limited to date in home visiting itself, but other early childhood fields have attempted to use this approach. And it could be something as simple as capturing a few client stories by video and then coming up with a method to share that back with your providers. And then, of course, measurement will be key here. So measuring well-being before and after exposure to those stories.
If you can send me a link to any of those examples that you're describing, I could include that in the survey and people could read about storytelling and home visiting.
Yeah, we have a folder on the share drive, so that I'm sure we pulled most of that off of the web. I'll see if we can.
Okay, is that in the potential measures folder?
No, I'll have to go look and find it. But no, we have
Okay.
something specific to storytelling. LaShonda
Okay,
helped
thank
put it together.
Thank you.
Let me ask, and again, the storytelling, is that something that the measure is like, is this improving if we share these stories with the participants or just in general? More people would want to participate in home visits, or the ones that are here, they get motivated because they hear those stories. I don't know. I don't, maybe not familiarized at all with client storytelling. So what's the measure that you want? What's the purpose for it?
I see. Well, we were thinking your providers hearing those stories, and that success stories in particular would be a boost to morale. Would be great if you could capture some of those stories from past clients who have gone through the home visiting journey and now are 2 or 3 years removed from that experience and looking back, reflecting on how it had an impact on their life and on the child's life. That's sort of what I envision with where we might go. And I think what other programs have done. As I mentioned, our technical assistance team from Massachusetts, we're meeting with them in a couple of weeks. That seems to be what they did in their past work. I do have some content on that, some brief summaries on the work that they did that I can share with you later today. But it would be more provider focused. That would be your audience.
Okay, I see.
In the photo voice work that we've done, one of the questions, as you'll hear in just a moment, was one of the prompts was the why. Why are we in this field? And so with the storytelling, I think what's compelling to us is, can we capture stories that sort of capture that why, and then have that resource available, these stories available for your providers, for your workforce, to listen to either at a structured specific interval, or maybe you can come up with a clever way of making that resource on demand that they can access whenever they like. I think that's sort of the flexibility on the table here of how you implement and which stories and how you capture stories. Lisa, you put something in the chat. I don't have it open, but do you want to share what you put in the chat?
Oh, I was just saying, Ariana might describe FAN for us because Cap Tulsa is working on that now.
Oh, right.
Ariana, would you mind doing that?
To talk about where FAN. Yeah,
Yes.
so I think FAN is the kind of like the main goal is to create a strong partnership between the parent educator and the parents. So the relationship between the parent and the child get more attuned, and the parent get more kind of like more open to try new things, to try to on the playing, or like trying to get that relationship between the child and the parent more strength. I don't know. So our idea is to just get our parent educators more to try to create like more that relationship between the parent educator and the parent educators more strange, more open, that they are more open to conversation, to build that relationship.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different than the C-sort approach, which is more focused on like supervisor provider interactions. This is more like it can be done through a supervisor coaching your providers on building stronger relationships with their families. I just put in the chat the link to the Erickson site for FAN for those that are interested in learning some more. And am I right that some of our Children First programs have also gone through this training in the past?
Yes, it is required. It was required at some point for C1.
So what we are doing is we are doing a survey for the parent educators and how how they feel like when they are communicating with parents, like talking about mental health or talking about screen result, or like they're very generic questions about how they feel during the visit and how they feel when they come back from the visit. And so we are planning on doing 3 surveys, one before taking the training, one after the training, and then I think that at the end.
Okay, we probably should move on, David. We've got more to cover on our agenda, and I think the questions have kind of petered out. You can email us questions as well. Tabitha, would you like to give us an update on photo voice, focus groups, and next steps in evaluation, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. All right. I do have a couple of slides to share, so getting that open. I hope you all are having a cool day. I know it's been miserable, so sending you thoughts of warmth, or sorry, coolness, not warmth. See, it's killing me. Okay, so evaluation updates. Briefly, I'm not sure that we've identified the exact aims for our coordinated state evaluation. These will be on the slides you'll receive. I won't go into detail of every piece, but just a reminder of what we're hoping to accomplish. I want to highlight the aims. So throughout the work we've been talking about on the evaluation side, for the first aim, we want to identify and describe the workforce supports you all have that are in place to promote professional well-being. Our second aim is to understand better how those supports might be associated with professional well-being. And then lastly, this is an Oklahoma specific aim, but we want to assess whether the professional well-being among our home visiting staff might influence client retention and engagement in services. When you see that acronym CSE, that stands for Coordinated State Evaluation. So as a reminder, this is a joint effort with other states who are interested in the topic of workforce development. There's some of our colleagues that joined David at that national conference on early childhood. So briefly, I know you all got to hear more about what happened with Photo Voice at our learning session, but just want to give the update that we have received our final submission. So a very heartfelt thank you to all who participated. I know that that was additional time, and we're so grateful that folks were reflective about the prompts we provided and put in those final submissions. The preliminary findings you saw at the learning session were based off the first submission. So there might be some changes, and we are in the process of analyzing all of that now. We've gotten a decent bit done, so we'll give you a kind of walkthrough of what we learned from that analysis in an upcoming meeting. Briefly, we want to also highlight just what comes next. So we mindfully timed Photo Voice first, so that folks would have that opportunity to really think about and collate what they wanted to present as their workforce supports and sources of stress or burnout and why they stay. And we are taking what we learned from that Photo Voice project to influence what will be in our next steps. And as always, we have qualitative and quantitative steps that are forthcoming. So first on the qualitative side, we will have individual interviews with clients. The focus of those interviews from clients will be on understanding their perception of their provider's well-being or demeanor, and whether those perceptions are related to their own satisfaction. We will also be interviewing staff and supervisors with the hope of better understanding, again, supports, stresses, or burnout, and what might be missing. We want to interview past staff as well. They might have a unique perspective on what supports were available and what they might recommend for home visitors. And then admin or administrators, which would include any leadership, model consultants, and our MIECHV administrators at the Department of Health. And that will actually be a focus group. I should have pulled that out separately. So those are some of the pieces upcoming for qualitative. On the quantitative part, we'll do a survey of clients that will have the same focus, but give us just a wider array of perspective and analyze that from a quantitative perspective. We will also have a survey that we'll make available to all home visiting staff. And you see on the slide, I don't know if folks had a big breakfast, but it makes me hungry to see this taco bar display. I think of taco bar when I think of a group lunch. But one way we want to be able to say thank you for folks completing the survey is that if each agency reaches kind of a certain percentage of folks responding to that survey, we'll be providing lunch to those teams. So hopefully that's exciting. And from those surveys, we'll get a more granular analysis of workforce supports. So going a little bit beyond what was completed with Photo Voice, we want to know kind of what supports exist. There will be a really long list of possible supports one might get at a workplace. Does that exist for you? Do you use it? How do you think of the quality of that support? And through that survey, we'll also get more information about professional well-being. And through that, then identify whether those workforce supports are associated with well-being. Any questions about the next steps with the qualitative and quantitative components of our coordinated state evaluation? The qualitative interviews will be right around the corner. We are hard at work editing and revising the quantitative survey and expect that to be delivered sometime in late fall.
So the interviews that you're gonna do the people that participated but is open to just clients that are active, or how does that gonna work?
That's a great question. Because we remain interested in the concept of engagement, we do plan to survey clients who meet our previous definition we've talked about of strongly engaged and weakly engaged. So they will have to have attended a certain number of appointments within a time frame based on those definitions.
They'll all be fairly recent clients though, so we won't be trying to contact clients who have not been with the program more than a year ago.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Sure.
Now we'd like to have a couple of our agencies talk about their PDSA. And I'd like to start with Eastern Oklahoma Youth Services and Melissa Wolford from that agency. Melissa, could you tell us a little bit about your agency before you describe your SMART aim and what you're doing to pursue that SMART aim?
Yes. So I work for Eastern Oklahoma Youth Services. We have, been around since 1988, I think is when it was established, and have traditionally done, we've provided the CHUBS services in the eastern part of the state for quite a while, a couple of decades now. I've been involved with them, I have been working for them for 20 years, starting this July, this month. So we also have some programs. We do home studies for the Department of Human Services foster care unit. We have a detention facility for the state of Oklahoma as well for juvenile. And we're really excited to get started with the prevention contract with the health department. Very, very excited.
And could you tell us the counties that you serve?
So for our program right now, for the prevention program, it's Adair and McIntosh counties. For the Chubbs program, oh my gosh, it's like basically the southeastern part of the state, like Cherokee County south to the Texas line. So when I came to this program from the Chubbs program, and I supervised Adair, Cherokee, Wagner, Muskogee, McIntosh, and Okfuskee counties with that particular program. So yeah, it's a wonderful program. It's a wonderful company. I love working for this agency. It's just really very focused on providing quality services to our families and supporting our providers to be able to do that well. And so these PDSAs are super exciting for us to see at a statewide level, this investment, I guess, in teams and in building up our providers to be able to provide the best services possible. So for our PDSA, we chose to increase job satisfaction by investing in and helping gain confidence. So we're doing that by in the past in our team, we've had book clubs where we've picked topics of things that we're interested in or wanted to learn more about to bring to our practice with families. And so we're kind of taking that model and using it to help our workers become more familiar specifically with healthy relationships and MCB modules. Because in the Chubbs program, you have a much more limited amount of time that you work with families. And so our providers are very, very familiar with and comfortable with the traditional safe care models of PCI, PII, health and home safety, problem solving, budgeting. But in the 6-month time frame that they're used to working in, they typically haven't had the opportunity to completely or fully do healthy relationships module or completely fully do MCB modules with families. They've had to kind of pick and choose the topics that would most fit or be necessary for that family. So we have started on a monthly basis having a module club after our all staff training where we're getting very familiar with the healthy relationships curriculum is what we have started with, since that's the one that both of my workers identified having the least confidence in. And then when we're finished, we're going to have our trainer come in and help us do kind of a refresher as well. But that way they're more confident about the specific materials before we move into that. So, and we're also having monthly check-ins during our individual staffings.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Melissa? All right, thank you. Yolanda, would you like to talk to us about your?
Yeah, so we have chosen these for this phase about the improvement of goals, family goals, record, and kind of check the progress review that we have to do every month, and also kind of help support the parent educators in the data collection. We noticed the goals, it has been one of the things they take time set up with families, but also it is about kind of enter an ETO to get all these reports, this goal progress every month. So we have what we have decided is for me to do reminders and be more intentional in the reflective supervision. I even said, even if we had to set for half of the reflective supervision and see how can we help with the goals and also document it. And so it's going to be done in reflective supervision, and also in the staff meeting, we're going to be also doing a reminder. And and we're going to try to get these at least for the 75% of the families that we're going to have enrolled from July, since we start a new program year with parents as teachers. I was talking to Lisa about how we can get this information from ETO. If not, we had to go family by family and click in the touch points. So I was able to, after talking to the consultant, we have a touch point, and I'm still a little bit trying to get information because ETO was having some issues in running reports in I would say the last week. But I did a test yesterday and looks like we can get some information from the touch point. So we're crossing our fingers if that is going to be that we can see the progress in a spreadsheet, not like clicking every family. So like I said, crossing our fingers and see. And I know this is going to relieve also stress, because this is one of the things that the parent educators kind of stress out about. It is okay to set goals with families, is the progress and record in ETO what is more difficult for them.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for Yolanda? Okay, thank you, Yolanda. I'm going to bring back up the agenda here. We have August rounding calls, but then we also have the monthly meeting. You're not going to be able to vote on it this time because we're going to have a special guest presenter. And this was when she was available that we also had available on our OU calendars. David, would you like to say anything about our guest presenter next month?
Carrie Higgins, Indiana mental health consultation. So I want you to hear the same story that I heard a couple of weeks ago about their journey with that model to date, where they began, where they are currently, and also have that group share back some of their evidence of impact. Although you're not allowed to vote, we're closely monitoring your acceptance to that time slot. And so if this is a conflict for too many of you, then we'll try to book Carrie for a later date. But unfortunately, of all the times we presented, that was her only availability. So we thought we'd snag it, take a gamble here. If it doesn't pan out, we'll get her to come back at a later month.
So it was August the 20th at what time?
Noon.
Okay.
Lisa, I assume that you adjusted for any differences in time zones.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Did anybody have we have 5 minutes left. Did you anything more that you'd like to talk about with the 2 PDSA areas that we're going to ask you to vote on? Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. Y'all have a good day. Thank you.